Thank you very much, Riv. What's up, guys? We're joined by with Fusion and Zion Spartan from Team Coast. Guys, that game was pretty crazy, very hectic. We'll start with your thoughts coming into the match, facing Dignitas. They still have much to play for. You're locked into 6th. How you feeling coming into the game?
I mean, we weren't. We were taking it seriously, but we knew it wasn't really going to matter in the end. So we just came into it and just felt really confident, actually, and just played our best and we didn't really feel scared at all, I guess.
Yeah, actually, Jat made a comment while casting, actually, that now that the pressure was off, you seem to step up a lot better. We know you do really, really well in solo queue. This was like a big breakout game for you. Was the lack of pressure helping you?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Like, recently in scrims, I tried to play a lot more aggressive because I knew that I played, like, more passive, or, like, I was just afraid to die most of the time. So, I don't know. I guess I was trying to do it, honestly, all this LCS Superweek. I tried to do that, but, yeah, I guess I brought it out this game.
Yeah, it worked out really well. So, Zion, I want to talk to you a little bit. They banned your Jax this game. Of course, you didn't get to play it against TSM. I want to actually get your thoughts on just that game real quick, your sort of split-push Jax game, and, like, sort of what it's like when you're, like, I feel like 1v2 all the time, like, you're diving and making all these plays. Like, how close were you to, like, taking the game out by yourself?
Well, I could say one thing. There's times when I love top lane, and there's times when I hate top lane. I'm playing Renekton and Shyvana, I'm like, okay, guys, I'm just going to like build full tank items and sit in their team. But when I'm playing things like Jax, I'm just like, this is why I love playing top lane. This is why I picked this lane out of all the lanes, all the 1v2s and all that. Being level 1 until 5 minutes, it's okay if I can play a split pusher like Jax. And it's just really, really fun to just go in there and just not care. I just like dive, just like I can 1v2, I can 1v3, just like bring all of them, but then like the tower kills me half the time and I just like end up trading 1 for 1. But it's really nice to have that pressure on a split pusher like Jax, and it's really what made me love League of Legends, like being that strong where you can actually like take on multiple enemies on a team.
Yeah, well, actually, we're seeing this style kind of overtake the LCS a little bit. Cruiser, first pick Lee Sin for the team, of course, taken away from you as well. How are you feeling about sort of facing against the top lane Lee Sin and seeing more top laners playing playmakers?
I think it's a good step forward. I think that a lot of the times the champions play top lane don't really take that much mechanical skill. Like Renekton, Shyvana, Mundo, like Shen, they're really not that hard to play mechanically. It's all about how you fit into the team on these champions. And where I shine is the champions that actually take mechanical difficulty. And where the other top laners often like outperform me is in these other aspects of playing the more team-based games. So I think that it's really good that the other top laners are also trying to play these top laners that require more mechanical skill, and they're performing well on them. So I'm looking forward to more of those types of champions being played in top lane, and I hope it sort of changes towards that.
Do you have any ideas on what's the next sleeper OP top laner after Jackson Lee Sin kind of settle out?
Yeah, you guys are going to see in playoffs, and it's going to be some fun matches. Just remember Spring Split 2013, guys, bringing it back.
Is that Fizz?
No, not Fizz. The playoffs, not the Spring Split. I went like 0-10 on Fizz, not that game. Don't remind me about that.
Okay, the 2013 playoffs, the top 2 finish. Okay, so let's actually get ourselves into the game and talk about some of the things that happened. Of course, a big, huge Lucian game for you. Let's actually bring up the replay then of a about 45-minute team fight. Your guys' bottom inhibitor, actually, if we can get that on your screen. I want you to walk me through how you win this battle here.
Oh, yeah. I think we were really looking to initiate onto them. As you see, we just tried to go at Corki. But in the end, they actually just started running away, and it was mainly towards the end of the fight where we actually started to clean up the kills. I think Zion goes a little bit too ham, and then we just turn on to them. But me and Shifter are looking to turn on them in a little bit. Like right here, this is where we're going to start to turn, just because we see that Crumbs has a GA popped. And it was actually kind of surprising that we won this team fight. But yeah, and then we just, I think after they used everything, we were just able to turn when they followed up. Me and Danny me and Shifter are just going to turn a little bit.
You pretty much push them away.
Yeah, I just knew that I think I was strong enough because I had 6 items, so we just were able to turn on them after they used everything.
Yeah, when Rise hits that 6-item point, it's just like, I'm an AP carry and I'm a tank. What are you guys going to do? And him and the 6-item AD carry could just clean up the rest of that fight. They kind of had like Lee Sin and Zed and Eve, kind of like a more early mid-game pick-focused comp.
Yeah.
And we kind of had that late game, so we knew, hey guys, it's okay if we get a little bit behind. We got the better late game. But unfortunately, that game ended in the most anticlimactic way. But it was still a pretty good game. It could have been played a lot smoother by both sides, but glad we were able to pick up the win.
Well, you mentioned the way the game ended, actually. That's our second replay here, where I don't know if you intentionally baited Cutie Pie to follow you, but he does that anyway. If we can get that replay up on the screen. PewDiePie just dives you. What is this one?
I'm just like, guys, all right, I'm going to bait PewDiePie. I got this perfect strategy planned out, so I'm just going to stand here. He's going to go on me. He just wants to go on that 6-item tank. No. I was just walking, I'm like, oh, wait, guys, I'm going up instead of down. I don't know what I'm doing. I shouldn't be splitting away from the team. I'm, like, almost dead, and then I go into fog, and then he, like, keeps chasing me. But then what he doesn't realize is my ult is back up, and then we have the rest of our team there, so WizFusion's just able to go in there, pick him up with the culling, and then we're just like, is the game about to end this way? Let's go finish this game right now. It's like even though we're down like a lot of gold, it's just like their AD carry just got caught out, and that's the end of the game when it gets to that late. And we were just surprised that he would tunnel that hard on a tank, but I was really lucky I didn't end up dying there because it could have very well been the other way around, and that's what makes the difference between somebody look really bad and really good. If he had killed me, I would have looked like the bad player. That's like, what's Zion doing? He's running up, but my team was able to follow up in time, and they ended up making me look like the savior that baited PewDiePie really hard. So I'm really glad it turned out that way.
The intentional move. You just got to claim that it was all your own. Yeah. PewDiePie going to double lift school today, apparently. So let's talk about then you're running into playoffs. So you know you're 6th seed. You know CLG's 3rd. I want to talk to you about this first round matchup. Best of 3. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think we're just going to take it like any other match. Obviously, CLG has been looking really strong lately. We're just going to practice and really prep for the new patch. I think that's what's going to be the most important thing. It's just like adapting really quickly. We're seeing like new picks come out almost every single week now. Yeah. Like Zed has actually been really popular as of late. Karma too, Corky. Yeah. So I think it's just adapting really quickly is going to be most important.
So actually, I want to press you on those. As a duo laner, you actually say Karma and Corky been very popular. What's your read on both these two champions?
I think the fact that Corky, I think Corky has always been good ever since they buffed him, but he lacked in lane phase, and I don't think he's really bad at it, but he just has, like, compared to Lucian or maybe Caitlyn, it's just weaker. But when you start to hit that level, like a level 11 ultimate or level 16, he does an absurd amount of damage because it's like 60% of your bonus AD or 60% of your AD, and then if you have Bloodthirster, you're just starting to do a ton of damage through rockets. And the fact that it's mixed damage is also really important.
Yeah, and then Karma?
A lane bully, I think, is like the most important thing. So you have someone who's not as good in lane with a lane bully. I think it just meshes well with each other. Okay, so then one more question then for you guys. Final one. We've noticed a lot of 2-on-1 lane swaps been happening recently, especially with you guys. Your last 2 games, you go for 2-on-1s. Why is this happening?
I think it's kind of just the way top lane currently is. It's just like, hey guys, I'm going to be level 1 until 5 minutes this game because everybody's running teleport and nobody wants to lane against the Renekton with Ignite. Or if you know you have the bad matchup, it's just like, why lane against someone I can run teleport and 2v1? So it's just kind of like being run every game. With teleport being buffed, it's actually a really strong summoner spell, especially during the early game because the cooldown's reduced to like 3 minutes if you use it on a tower. So not only is it good for laning, it's probably the summoner spell that scales the most into the late game because of how strong it is to have one person in the bottom side of the map who can be on the other side of the map in just 4 seconds. So it's kind of like I think the biggest thing is like the teleport being buffed, essentially.
Interesting enough, you actually went with the Ignite Jax game and managed to get a bunch of kills that way. I like that. You had the summoner spell advantage and used it. It was fun.
I'm like, guys, I like getting kills on Jax. I'm going to run Ignite. I hope you guys don't mind. I'm not going to be able to teleport into fights, though. So, sorry, I'm going to be split pushing the whole game.
It's fine. Ignore team acquire KDA. Yeah. I like it. All right, guys, well, of course, congratulations on the win. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks very much for your time. We're going to have 2 more LCS games plus the Challenger quarterfinals. Keep your browser where it is right now. We've got more LCS coming your way. When we come back, CLG takes the Rift against Evil Geniuses, so don't go anywhere. What's up, guys? We're joined by Crepo and Snoopy, of course, of Evil Geniuses. Come into that game. Of course, a difficult match on paper for you guys. Curse having a better season so far. What was your confidence like coming in?
I've always considered us having a decent fighting chance against like Dignitas and Curse. I really still feel that there's a big gap between top 3 and bottom 5 in NA. Yeah, just recently, like we were really close, but every weekend we kept losing, and the gap kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. We had confidence we could win. Not an insane amount of pressure either because the match that will matter is only the match against XDG. Regardless of what we do here, we need to win against XDG to like solidify that 7th place.
Yeah.
This game did show one big thing that I think you guys have improved on a lot. It looks like you had a much better communication, especially using something like Pantheon ult, which timing is everything with that. Have you guys done anything specifically to work on that, or did you just finally everything fall into place?
Honestly, no. Like the last few weeks for us have just been a bit crazy.
with having to use subs, go home and get visas sorted. It's just been a little bit crazy. Communication is definitely one of our weakest points right now. You'll notice in our rotations, like we might win the early game, but our rotations are really not on point, and that's a lot of it down to communication.
And I know actually throughout your season, you guys have actually had a large number of like you almost won losses, like a significantly high number of like almost wins. Does that do anything to you guys when you're like we can almost beat all these top teams?
No, I would say that it's like it doesn't matter if you don't win. It really doesn't matter. Because like for the middle of the season, we're having close games against TSM, against CLG, but it really didn't matter because come the end of the season, the results aren't there. It shows how many losses we have to wins, and we really need to pick up. Most importantly, the game against XDG tomorrow. That's the most important one for today. Sorry,
yeah, sure.
later today is the most important one now, and it's kind of sad, really, considering how close our games were with the top teams.
Yeah.
That we're now fighting for last spot essentially, which is. It blows a little bit.
Sure.
All
You
right,
open
well,
your mouth. I figured.
I want to get to this dragon fight.
Okay.
We're talking about their next game already, but let's go back to this game and bring up this dragon fight that you guys do have. Walk us through this one, guys.
I actually don't quite remember what happened. So we're doing a Drake, I imagine. We're bursting it because they don't get in time. I heroically take that bind to prevent it from stealing Drake. And that's just when you like assess the situation, what's going to happen. Pobelter, I think he goes out a little too far. But then we answer with the Pantheon ult, and now it's just up to calling targets. I know we've been calling left side, people are calling Trundle. I'm going on a Morg. And it's basically, at this point, it's almost reactive. Like, we try to get the Morg down, and then just dodge as many skill shots as we can. And right now, we got to get out. So we just try and survive, and I think we get a little lucky. I think I'm about to flash a spear here that ends up hitting Inox, and we get really low. And we're considering a turn.
The turn is the biggest part.
Yeah, we're considering a turn here, but then we decide like no, like it's too unsafe. But then he flashes in, and anyways, we're like, okay, well, let's take a freebie.
It wasn't really a freebie.
Inox
was very close
doesn't work
to
for that one.
But yeah, I think the Nidalee kill though wasn't as important at that point. Even if he kills us or we kill him, I think it's really good that we actually got that Drake. We got the Drake control. We rushed it when we noticed they couldn't come in. Got a little iffy towards the end, but at least we were somewhat in control of this game.
Yeah.
But somewhat sloppy still in a lot of areas, so we got to make sure that's perfect for XDG later.
I think the biggest thing coming into this game is that we picked the Ryze top kind of blind, essentially. Well, it was blind, basically. We just kind of figured that we'd get the Ryze against any top laner that Quaz was going to pick. Once we took out the Renekton, we were comfortable with him playing against Shyvana or Trundle. So we had the really good matchup between the Trundle and Ryze, and even though they never really laned, we got the Ryze pairing up, which meant it could always split against Trundle later in the game if we had to. And then the biggest factor was our initiations. They have a Nidalee poke comp with a disengage from Morgana bindings and then also the Trundle pillar. And we really had to get on-point initiations. When the Pantheon drops were like really, really good, we got on their backline, followed up by Leona. And the Lulu ulti saves like on more than one occasion when Lulu comes in. And I'm expecting that. I'm always calling in the team fight. Like I jump in really, really deep. Like deeper than I maybe should. And I'm always calling, where's Lulu ulti, where's Lulu ulti?
Yeah, one of the things I was really surprised about is Curse have Caitlyn traps, they have bindings, they have spears, all these things that they can line up at your point of impact as Pantheon. It's so scary to do those deep jumps. But since you had this very scary Ryze right behind you, it kind of always seemed like Curse were on the panic mode, and they didn't try and set up any of those things when you landed, and you guys got to go full offensive.
Yeah.
We actually have a clip of one of these really good Pantheon ults that you do super deep. Let's bring this one up on the screen.
This is the one in mid. We're actually waiting on my ulti coming off cooldown. I don't have it quite yet, and I'm looking for an opportunity to engage. And I need to wait for them to come so far out. We don't have vision of them, but now I just go. I don't even have vision, I just go for it. And the problem is they all get out of my range. The only option I have is Trundle, so I go on Trundle. You'll notice the burst that comes down on me now, and that's the Lulu ulti counts. I still almost die even with the Lulu ulti on me. And then we basically clean up. We're calling for cop. And I think Trundle dies to Ignite or something. Yep, it dies to Ignite. Now we look for the follow-up on Voyboy here. Creepo flash stuns, Inox snares, and then I flash stun to follow up as well. And then we got a good pickup on Voyboy, and really came out on top there.
The biggest thing about this composition that the engage, it comes in waves. So either I go in first and Pantheon follows up, or most of the cases, because as you highlighted, they have Trundle Pillar and this wall of traps and like mobility and binds and Black Shield to get out. But Pantheon can literally just bypass that. He just jumps up in the air, lands somewhere, and then they can't really stand still to fight him because the second wave of engage is coming, as in like Leona. Then you have the Lulu knockup, which is CC, and then so you pile on CC one after the other, and they were too far behind, and their poke wasn't as hurting as it should be to actually stop that. So in the end, once we get a lead, we can pretty much steamroll their composition.
Yeah, you saw them actually at one point try and force Baron, which they really at that point should never have done. But they felt forced into that situation, which is what led to the surrender later on. And I went for a really deep Pantheon ulti. Actually, maybe a little bit too deep. I could have waited about
two seconds more or something like that, but actually wanted to force the fight. But you saw they were getting desperate. Like, they couldn't close out the game. They tried to siege. It didn't work because they got engaged on. Then they tried a desperate Nashor play, and it didn't work out, and just kind of closed the game out from there.
Yeah. Kirpo, I actually want to follow up on one thing that you said about the engages coming in waves. Kind of 2 points. So one is, do you think that's actually a mandatory thing when you fight a poke comp, is to have more than one engage tool? And two, did you know that Curse tends to be running a lot of poke type compositions when you're going through champ select saying, let's get some other guys in here to start fights?
Yeah, we did have, like, as a team, we found out that they've been running a lot of these like high range poke composition types, even like the Karma support coming in there. And then, yeah, Leona works really well against it, especially if you want to, I mean, if you look at Bunny Fufu, he's really good on Thresh, so if you take that out and you somehow get to Leona, all that's left is this pokish type of play, unless he's going to bring out the Alistar or the Blitzcrank.
Sure.
But probably not, so that helps in that regard, especially if you're playing against Morgana. I feel you need that secondary engage. Maybe Leona is enough and just raw damage to follow up if you don't play against a Morg, but I mean, I need Snoop to bait out the Black Shields, and then I can hopefully land my ulti somewhere.
Yeah.
If not, then it's getting really hard if it's only Leona. So I really like stacking CC against the poke comp is just so efficient because all their members are so squishy and so weak, so you can just take them down one by one.
Okay, so then one last follow-up then. Your game at the end of today, it's tomorrow in Europe, to be fair.
Yeah.
Your game later today against XDG, how do you feel about that team? Where's their strength lie?
Coming up against them, I think Xmithy is going through a little bit of a rough patch right now. I think ManCloud had a few good games lately, like on Ziggs especially, had a decent game. But I think him and Xmithy aren't really on the same page at the moment. And I think that's one thing we can look to exploit. I think me and Poe are doing pretty good together right now. And if we can look to exploit the Xmithy and ManCloud duo, then I think we might come out on top.
All right, well, guys, thank you very much for your time. Congrats on your win. Of course, we'll see you later on tonight. Guys, we've got more going on. Don't go AFK. We're back in 3.5 minutes. When we come back, XDG take the Rift against TSM, the North American LCS.
Freak, we want to welcome TSM's X Special to the desk. Congrats on the win. The Thresh bays have been quite crazy. Can we attribute it to the new haircuts you and Bjergsen have?
Sure, you could say that. I mean, I would think that it's partly because we've been practicing a lot.
All right.
But I mean, the haircut obviously is mainly it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So with that, going out and getting haircuts together, trying to get the bonding, we've seen struggles in the 4.4 patch for Team Solo Mid. Talk to us about that.
Initially, it was mainly the 2v1s that we were trying to figure out ways to avoid 2v1ing, but we ended up pretty much saying that, okay, purple side, we're going to have to 2v1, we're going to have to invade, and we're going to have to just suck it up. And we actually don't like purple right now. I think purple has a huge disadvantage, and we actually only lose games on purple generally, like in terms of stuff. I mean, we do lose on blue too, but purple generally has a disadvantage in that you have to pretty much 2v1, invade blue, go top. Yeah, not a big fan of that, but in these games, it isn't really the 2v1s. It's that because we're 2v1ing and we don't win lanes that early, it means that our transitions in the mid game and our Baron calls have to be on point in order for us to just snowball games. And we aren't able to do that yet. And it's a big problem for us, especially in this last game and the game before, actually.
Yeah, something that was interesting about this game is traditionally in the LCS this year, you guys have dominated all the lower teams. But Coast is the only one to beat you. And again, you guys kind of struggled against them. What happened in this game, and why do you struggle against Coast?
I don't think it's really Coast in general. It's really just the last few weeks. We haven't really been snowballing games at all. Only times we do is when we actually 2v2. And when you don't 2v2, Turtle and I, we aren't able to snowball our bot lane. You know, Darius isn't able to show off his top lane mechanics, and Bjergsen, you know, he's just Bjergsen. But overall, it's just that we don't have our lane, so we can't snowball early. So we have to snowball mid game, which is a lot harder, a lot more teamwork, and we didn't make the right calls. Like last game, and in the game against EG, we just Baron was almost MVP in both these games, and that's not good. It's kind of showing just how bad we are at Baron, and it's something that Cloud9 has done way better than us, and it's something that we still need to strive towards. And in our next game against Cloud9, it's going to show if we don't do it correctly.
Well, let's look at some of where TSM really prevails, and that's Dragon Fight. 17 minutes here. We're going to pull up a replay where Bjergsen comes out with his triple kill on this one. What was the communication going into this fight, knowing that you guys are kind of struggling with this patch?
Honestly, right here, we were just trying to get position. So they were trying to start it. Usually when you start Dragon, you're at a disadvantage. We had more brushes. Triple came from the side, but luckily, Turtle died really early, but fortunately, he managed to do a little bit of damage, and Bjergsen was really strong here. Gragas, you think about game-changing ultimates. He had a pretty good ultimate there. And I think the really lucky thing was I managed to survive by, I don't know, I flashed.
Play.
Yeah, it was kind of lucky in a way, but at the same time, it's just one of the nice things about Thresh. It's just that you can do stuff like this, lose vision, and just run away, and he slowed, and Bjergsen, I was pretty much yelling at Bjergsen, hey, Bjergsen, can you please help me out here? Except with not those nice words. And fortunately, he got there in time, and he managed to save me. So I was pretty happy with that. It looked pretty cool.
That was one of those mid-game team fights that you guys are going to actually have to excel on a little bit more, especially when you guys are facing up against Cloud9 later today. What's it like playing against Cloud9 now that you guys are battling for that first-place spot?
It's really scary. It means that every mistake can really snowball the game. And it really hurts us because we feel like right now our objective and Baron control isn't good enough, so that even if we do get a couple kills early, it might not mean the end of the game. But if they do, it could mean the end for us. It's much like when we face foreign teams, like especially Korean teams in general. It's just that they are really good at snowballing, and even though we get ahead early, we're not able to do what they do. And then what happens is that we get a lead, we throw it, they win. They get a lead, they keep it, they win. And it's a really bad cycle for us, and it's something that we still have a really hard time breaking. And if we don't win early laning, like how we've been doing for most of the season, we have a hard time. And it's definitely showing in these last few games.
And speaking of Barons, it brings us into our next replay, I believe at 34 into this one. Special at the pit on Thresh. You had a big play here. Kind of speak to me what it's like being a Thresh at the pit and what your priorities are for this fight.
At the pit, they don't have vision of you. You have to land a hook, but at the same time, they can move out of the way, they can juke, they have time, and you're just like, okay, please land this hook. And I managed to land one, and I'm not sure Zion falls here, but we managed to get a couple ults down. Darius goes a little bit too deep, but fortunately, Shifter tries going too hard. He actually dies instantly, which is really good. I mean, sure, Darius dies, but Shifter was huge here. He didn't even get two charges. He only got one charge of his ultimate off, and luckily, we had some really good ultimates, a good Jinx ult, and we just managed to clean him up. And I got Evelyn down, and it was actually really messy.
How do you guys clean these plays up there? So like in this last play in particular, what is something that like now watching it a second time, could you guys have done much better?
One thing was, it shouldn't have gotten to that point in the first place. It was already 35 minutes in, and we had a much bigger lead, and that was slowly getting smaller and smaller. We were losing turrets bottom, we lost the turret mid to minions. It was a really bad situation. We just needed to clear out wards correctly, and then maybe not even go for Baron. Just go for top turret, mid turret, something like that. And we just didn't pressure correctly. We pressured wrong places, wrong times. We lost objectives, and it wasn't something that was just clean. It wasn't clean at all. And that's why it got to that point. And if we had done that 25 minutes instead of 35 minutes, a hook would mean a kill. But at that point, Jax was so strong, he was able to tank everything, and he didn't die initially, and that was a problem. So pretty much, if we have a lead, we need to keep it, and that's just the big consensus with League of Legends. Is that you have a lead, you keep it, snowball it, you win the game.
All right, Special, as we close out the last few questions, definitely like to touch on what you call home in the bot lane and really the race for the best bot lane in NA. I wouldn't call it a race, but you guys...
The debate.
The debate, yeah. CLG, and we also have Lemon Nation and Sneaky from Cloud9 up there. What are your kind of thoughts on these power bot lanes, as people would call them?
So we each have different play styles, I would say. With Cloud9 and Cloud9's bot lane, they kind of go for the more strategic. They go for a lot of CC, team fight heavy. They're willing to 2v1, stuff like that. When you play against CLG, you know they want a 2v2. If they know you want a 2v1, they're gonna follow you, and that's just the difference. It's for us, we just kind of flip flop. Sometimes we 2v1, sometimes we like to 2v2, and it's really depending on Turtle. Personally, I'm more of a all right, we're just gonna do the better thing. Turtle's like, all right, let's go 2v1. So we kind of have these arguments back and forth, but at the same time, it just shows that how different you can be, even though you're playing the same role. Even the champions are different. For example, Aframi always Thresh. If it's up, he'll pick it. You go to Lemon, he's probably gonna pick Karma. Don't tell him this, but we think he's gonna pick Karma, and
he wasn't.
Maybe he won't. Oh, yeah, I don't think so at all. Not at all. But that's just the difference in playstyle and difference between bot lanes. It's hard to compare. I think if every bot lane had the 2v2, I think CLG or us would probably be one of the best. But since the current situation is that you often 2v1, I mean, there's team fights involved too. So C9 is actually really, really good at all of those.
Yeah, and I always kind of look at you guys as the more almost rounded bot lane of all of them. And I did want to get your thoughts on Cloud9's bottom lane that they debuted yesterday, because last season they did the Zyra Ashe. And this one was Corki Karma. It's a little bit different. Just what are your thoughts on that lane? It feels like a high damage lane to me.
Okay, so they did really well in the first game, I believe, against maybe XDG. I forget who.
Yeah, it was XDG.
Yeah, and then their second game, they had a really tough time. They were against CLG's bot lane, which was a Thresh Lucian. So pretty much when I watch Karma Corki, it's that their level 1 is strong, but Thresh and Lucian are stronger. And what they need to do as the Corki Karma is just get a couple levels in, get level 2, get level 3, and then you're really, really strong. But unfortunately, Thresh and Lucian are so strong that they're able to bully out C9's bot lane. And honestly, purple side disadvantage kind of comes in. It's that they had to, they had to just check brushes. They had to, help them with blue or whatever. It's just that purple side, it's almost always better to just 2v1, just go top and just go invade there. And hopefully teams that, play against us don't know that. But that's why we don't really like purple. It's that we kind of are forced to 2v1. I mean, you don't have to, but it's kind of preferable.
I understand.
All right, Special. Thank you very much. Congratulations on the win, and best of luck to both TSM and Cloud9 in the match later today.
Thank you.
All right, in our next match, Curse faces off against CLG. Thank you very much, Freak. We are joined by Diggs, Kiwi Kid, and Crumbs. Gentlemen, congratulations on the win. A 16,000 gold lead there as you racked up a few more thousand to end the game. Very definitive, and a play style that's definitely changed for you guys. Coming into that game, however, we have to touch on the 2v1. We've been seeing it a lot in back-and-forth games. What's the switch now that teams are doing this to kind of put each other on edge?
I think the idea behind 2v1ing is simply so that you accelerate the gold lead early on, so you can have more items on your champions earlier on. So you get the 2 towers, and then you simply rotate the lanes out and then try to deny the opponent. So who can outmaneuver? It's basically creating the game so that it's more strategic rather than, oh, the jungler found a good gank in this lane and actually managed to win now. So it's a different play style. I'm not too fond of it, but we pretty much see it every game. So.
And Kiwi, you're obviously one of the ones that has to be fond of it or be a part of it. The mid laners get to kind of sit at home. How do you feel about being able to swap back and forth in these lanes or have to swap?
I really like it. It keeps the game really refreshing because I really love laning, especially laning with Cutie. But whenever it's 2v1s, I get to roam a lot more, and I just, man, I don't. That's really fun to me too. Yeah, I get to kill steal, man. What's better than that? You get that, 3-minute sight zone.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday on Annie, you were like level 4 or something. 7
yeah, I was level 3 at 10 minutes. We watched it. So that was a struggle, but it was fine.
So you guys, you took this game to 7-3 in 18 minutes. Do you feel like this 2v1 kind of fast style play actually works with your team comp?
I think it does work with our team comp, but the issue was that we got 2v1 yesterday against Curse. And we made a big mistake in the early rotations that we seem to have made in scrims quite a bit. And we're like, okay, look, this is a mistake that happened. And then Sky's like, this is what you need to do instead. And we're like, oh, that would have been so great if we did that instead. Oh, that's so good. And then we actually did it this game, and it worked out. That's when we got the 2 kills for 1, the first blood.
Yeah.
So we actually learned from what our mistakes were yesterday and applied it to today, which is a huge thing for us to actually learn from one day to another.
That's actually really interesting how you mentioned Scar helping out, because I'm a little curious how his coaching role has been doing. He's here all the time. How has it been going with him in a new role now?
He's like a god of coaching.
Yeah. Oh, God. Did I say it out loud? I freaking love Scar. Yeah, just having him here and just, man, yeah, he's probably been the biggest help we've had in a while. I think, yeah, he's pretty much what we've been needing. Like, let's say if we had 2 Scars and he was playing and he was coaching too, nah,
they'd drive each other.
Yeah, they probably slit each other's throats, but that's something else. But
let's jump ourselves into a replay. We can see just how much that coaching is coming into play. This one's around 26-20. We got the fight coming in, and this one's for Dignitas here towards the mid lane. Walk us through this fight a little bit and how you guys were able to grab the positioning.
So right here, we know Lee Sin's coming around, and we want to take a fight. We have a really fed Draven. Kiwi lands a great hook, and then he starts getting a lot of damage on him. And at this point, okay, he flashed out, but I'm still coming in, and I want to go on this again. And I land the cocoon, and he lands another hook on us, and we CC him to death. And then this just spirals out of control now, because Raven flashes for the kill. We ended up getting Corki, and then I tried to go for Ziggs. That would have been great if I got Ziggs, but he flashed out too. In the end, this allowed us to take Baron, and then the game was over from this on.
Yeah.
And Kiwi, your Thresh was rather impressive this game. A bunch of hooks landed dead center, really good plays as well. Why haven't we seen more Thresh out of you this season?
I think it's because our team kind of has trouble closing out without hard initiates like Annie and Leona, and we kind of just clutched on that. And fairly, I think my Thresh has been pretty inconsistent.
Okay.
But I've been playing it a lot lately, so we just like gave it a go. Because Annie was up, but we decided to just pick Thresh instead. I was like, I'm feeling Thresh this game, and I just kind of
just a
was
feeling.
on point.
Also, Golden Glue is 3-1 now. You can say 3-1 with Scar in the coaching role, 3-1 with Golden Glue in mid lane though. How do you guys feel like he's been doing in adapting to the LCS pressure?
I don't think that means much, whatever the record is, but I think he's definitely getting better. And maybe a little too excited because he was blurting out some strange things that last game. But
what's an example of something?
I don't even remember. He's imitating voices. Like he's 17. We get it. So. Like he's getting used to it, and it's good because he's definitely getting a lot more confidence. We're helping him out with that, and then his Orianna was 2 different shades from comparing the game against Curse to this new one. So once as we progress, we'll have the 2 weeks to prepare for playoffs and 2 more games in LCS. That should hopefully give him the confidence and the skill and just adapt enough to the LCS environment to be able to perform at playoffs.
And with next game, I believe if CLG beats Curse, you guys lock in 4th. How are you feeling about that whole big picture of the playoffs?
Locking in 4th.
Yeah. I think locking in 3rd to 6th has no difference. I don't mean to rag on Riot or anything, but I feel like this kind of Superweek's a little underwhelming in the perspective of like playoffs, because it's kind of like. Top 2, yeah, that's great. You get job security. And top 3 to 6 is like kind of whatever. So,
no, I don't know. 6 and 7 really matter, though.
But even
6 and 7 really matters. I feel
even your matchup against Curse, if that is the way it falls, because that's where it's trending towards. What do you think about your chances in that game?
The thing is, going into this, we got a really good thing coming on, which was a new patch is going to be played with playoffs. And that changes everything, because now that means I can play Master Yi every game, or Shaco, which means that that new playoffs is going to be just completely new slate as to what happens. So I think any record that we have against any team will barely matter. So going into, we're going to play either CLG, Curse, or Coast, not a big deal. Like, it's just so new that whoever comes out with the best strategy is going to win.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Congrats on the win, and best of luck in the rest of the 2 games you guys have this Super Week. All right, we've got a flash away, but when we come back, Team Solo Mid will battle it out with Coast. The NALCS continues in 3.5.
Oh, he got a hook.
Okay, please send flash. Please send flash. Can you get to him? Yo.
I'm looking.
Yo, y'all fighting, man?
Yeah.
Corky. Lantern.
I have nothing. I'm flashing on Zig. Trundle's coming. All right. Do you have a slow? No, I don't have anything.
Go to ban. They have no. I got this. Like, I'll keep them alive. Just.
We'd like to welcome XDG's bot lane, Sheep and Zuna, to the desk. Gentlemen, congratulations on the game. Quick, before we start this, Zuna, how many times did you thank Sheep for saving your ass in this game?
Good amount. I was like, oh god, lantern, and then he's like, I got you.
All right, what was the mentality coming into this? Because it seemed like you guys started off on a completely different foot, and it was the right one.
It came down to we felt we just had to win this, because against EG, if we did beat them, then it would go to, they had a game advantage on us for the 7th spot, so now it comes to just the best of 1 for us, or the 7th spot.
Yeah, but Sheep, you actually seem to be playing a little bit out of your mind during this game. What do you think enabled you to do so well against this TSM team comp?
Actually, I made quite a few mistakes. I used my ult by accident one time. I don't know if that was on camera, but that was
right at the top. We thought they were fighting.
Other than that, though, yeah, I played pretty well. I was happy with it. Thresh has always been my best support. We just haven't been able to put out results with it. I think we were 0-3 before this game. So, like, if you're losing with your best support, it kind of gets to your confidence a bit, obviously. But I just said, hey, guys, just first pick me Thresh, YOLO, and it worked out. So. Yeah, I'm happy that we were finally able to get a win with it. And, yeah, aside from a couple mess-ups, I think we played the game pretty well.
Zuna, your picks with 80 carries have been quite versatile. Coming back lately to Jinx and Kog'Maw, are you looking for those late-game carries again that suit you a little bit more?
Yeah, I definitely like late-game carries, because once it gets to the late game and you have 6 items, you're just such a big threat compared to having the early mid-game, because our early mid-game has been pretty lull lately. So just hoping out for the late game with good, strong picks.
Yeah, and was that a strategy there for your entire team going into TSM? Like, we have to beat them in the late game, or was there something else going on there?
I think it came down to we want to have a team comp that scales just as good as them, and we won't die early game. That's what we came up with.
All right.
Where do you guys think you found your strength in this game? Sheep, I'll kind of start with you. Your rotations in the early game, is this something you always want to do, or do you think it had to be played like that against Team Solo Mid?
That's just something that I learned from playing solo queue for so long, to be honest. If you're winning your lane, it's really good to always just roam mid, give presence to other lanes. If your lanes are losing, it's a lot harder to pull that kind of maneuver off because obviously you don't have pressure in the other lanes. If you roam to a losing lane, it's really difficult to try to make a play because you could just get 1v2'd or if the jungler's there or something. But the first roam that I did, I think, down to mid from top, I think, was when we killed Bjergsen.
Yep.
It just worked out perfectly because I don't think they had vision on that side of me, so they were anticipating the gank ManCloud. And then Jake came in, Xmithy came in for the perfect counter gank, and Odd One had already flashed, so it was just a perfect kill. Yeah, we just had a really good early game that game.
Yeah, and then also, it was rather close near the end of it. Actually, if we can pull this clip up on the screen, it seemed like TSM may had finally taken the upper hand on you because they were pushed right into your base, and you guys were trying to push them out. Actually, walk me through this clip and what your mindset was when you were able to push them back.
It came down to we got Pokemon Expression. We're like, okay, good, it's good chunk. And then we still weren't in position, so everyone's kind of scared. And then we saw that the cocoon landed when he had no flash. So Benny flashed in there. My ult kind of hit, and then we got the kill. And then we were just like, oh, God, Benny's dead. Benny's dead. And then Benny's like, no, I'm still good. And then we just somehow got kills because they thought they could kill him.
Yeah, it seemed like the whole game it was TSM just not quite being able to break through all of your peel to get in for the fight.
Yeah, I had Mikhail's and Face of the Mountain for Benny, which is like a ridiculous amount of shields. On top of Orianna, Ryze is pretty tanky at that point too, so it was just too hard for them to kill him. And then here, I think we made a pretty big mistake chasing Turtle.
Yeah, we don't need to get into that part. It may have happened. That could have been the end of the game, but who knows?
Yeah. All right, so you guys, with watching some of the games today as you've been in your green rooms, obviously EG is playing out of their minds as well. What are your thoughts about that upcoming match?
It's a really big match, and just have to play as well as we did last game, and hopefully we'll pull through.
How do you set up for something like that, knowing you kind of have a game off now? What's the prep even just in a few games?
It comes down to not even really watching the next game and just talking all about the game coming up.
Yeah, it's really all going to come down to that, try to get the 7th seed. But, Sheep, I noticed you had a few supporters in the stands today. Do you want to kind of tell me about the story there?
I didn't even know they were coming this week. It's just my family. They flew in from Canada. My mom flew in from Alberta, and my sister and her friend flew in from Ontario near Toronto. So it was pretty cool. It's pretty cool to have them there. But obviously, I just want to win games. So at the same time, it kind of sucks if you're losing. Your family flew all the way from Canada to come watch you. So hopefully we can keep winning.
So how do you guys take into consideration when you do have this big game against EG? And obviously, Thresh probably going to be something to band out. Jinx maybe something. You guys won't get that pick. When you use something this strong, what if it's all gone? What do you guys have something else in mind? How is that going to work against EG?
I feel like for this game, we really didn't pick our strat that we wanted against EG, and that's what we've been playing for. So.
All right. So you guys still got it.
Able to hold some punches against TSM and actually beat them. Rather impressive.
Yeah.
Freak would destroy me if I didn't mention this, but he loves the fact that you guys have won one game against every team in the LCS, but only one. Is there anything to that, or is it just random chance, do you think?
I feel like we're good enough to beat a team as long as we play well. We're just inconsistent, and that's what happens.
We can make it 2 against EG today, though.
Yeah, that'll be the trend breaker.
Yeah.
So ManCloud came out pretty big in this game. What have you guys kind of seen as what has he been doing with not having as good as a year? Has he been kind of doing anything for himself to better in that position?
I think lots of it comes down to communication for him, and the meta did change a bit, but I think more than that is just the communication and just knowing what to do at the right time for the whole team is improving everyone.
Yeah, and final question for you, Zuna, as far as like reacquainting yourself with the role, how's your AD carry role going now, later in the season?
It's definitely better than when I just started, but I still don't feel as I'm as good as before when I was at World, so still practicing a lot, and I'm still getting the hang of things.
All right.
Right on, guys. Best of luck to you and Evil Geniuses in the game later today. Congratulations on the current win. All right, everyone, we're going to throw it back over to Freak and Kobe for our next match. But as we go, Coast's strategy for winning against...